Why did this happen to Shohei? Those 5 words, spoken quietly, painfully, by someone inside the Dodgers clubhouse after the game, captured everything that happened on that field. Everything that nobody saw coming. Everything that has now sent shockwaves through every corner of Major League Baseball. 2 Arizona Diamondbacks batters threw their bats in the direction of Shohei Ohtani during what was already an intense and emotionally charged game at Dodger Stadium. The result was a dented helmet, a furious Kyle Tucker who could no longer contain his rage, an emergency investigation launched by the umpires right there on the field, and a moment so shocking that the entire stadium fell into stunned, disbelieving silence. And when Tucker stepped forward and revealed the truth of what had really been happening, the truth that nobody in that Arizona dugout wanted exposed, the baseball world stopped. Then, after everything was said and done, after all the chaos and fury and confrontation had run its course, Shohei Ohtani did something that said more than any words ever could. He went home, alone, in complete silence. This is the full story of what happened, why it happened, and what it means for everyone involved. To understand the weight of what occurred, you first need to understand the atmosphere surrounding this game. The Los Angeles Dodgers opened their 2026 season on March 26 at Dodger Stadium, hosting the Arizona Diamondbacks in front of a sold-out, electrified crowd that had gathered not just to watch baseball, but to witness history. The Dodgers were raising their 2025 World Series championship banner. They were chasing an unprecedented three-peat, something no team had accomplished since the legendary New York Yankees dynasty of 1998 to 2000. Manager Dave Roberts had his team ready. Edwin Diaz was in the bullpen. Kyle Tucker, the biggest free agent signing of the offseason, was making his Dodgers debut batting second. And leading it all off, standing at the top of the lineup like an unshakable force of nature, was Shohei Ohtani, 4-time MVP, 55 home run superstar, the man who carries the soul of this franchise on his shoulders every single night. The Diamondbacks came into Dodger Stadium carrying the wounds of a disappointing 2025 season. They had been plagued by injuries, had lost key pitching arms, had finished 13 games behind the Dodgers in the standings, and had watched Los Angeles celebrate another World Series title. For Arizona, this was not an opening day celebration. This was an opportunity, a chance to make a statement, a chance to show the rest of the National League West that the Diamondbacks would not simply roll over and accept their place beneath the Dodgers' throne. But the way that statement was ultimately made was something that crossed every line that exists in professional baseball, and the consequences of crossing those lines are now being felt across the entire sport. For the first several innings, the game played out with fierce but clean competition. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the reigning World Series MVP, was sharp and commanding on the mound. His splitter was diving perfectly, his fastball was alive, and he was making Arizona's hitters look completely overmatched for long stretches. Ohtani, as he does in every single game he plays, made his presence felt immediately, leading off the game with a scorching 111-mile-per-hour single that set the tone and sent a message to everyone watching. Kyle Tucker, in his very first at-bat as a Dodger, hit a sharp grounder that was only stopped by a spectacular diving play from Nolan Arenado, Arizona's newly acquired third baseman. The crowd groaned. Tucker smiled. He knew it was only a matter of time. The Diamondbacks actually managed to take a 2-0 lead in the fourth inning when Geraldo Perdomo launched a 398-foot two-run home run off Yamamoto. The stadium murmured in surprise. Arizona's dugout came alive. For a brief, flickering moment, it seemed like the Diamondbacks had a real chance to steal this game in the Dodgers' own building, on their own opening day, in front of their own celebration. But that flickering moment did not last long. And as the game progressed and the momentum shifted decisively back toward the Dodgers, the tension inside the Arizona dugout began building towards something dangerous. It was in the later innings that everything changed. The Dodgers had already begun their comeback. Andy Pages launched a 3-run home run to give Los Angeles a 3-2 lead, and the crowd, which had been holding its collective breath, exploded back to life. The Diamondbacks, sensing the game slipping away, grew increasingly frustrated. And that frustration, combined with something darker that had apparently been simmering beneath the surface all evening, finally boiled over in the most shocking and unacceptable way imaginable. 2 Diamondbacks batters, in separate moments that the umpires and multiple witnesses confirmed were not accidental, directed their bats toward Shohei Ohtani. The details of exactly how it happened are still being reviewed, but what is not in question is the outcome. Ohtani's helmet was struck. The dent left behind told the story more clearly than any explanation ever could. A dented helmet means the impact was real. A dented helmet means the danger was real. A dented helmet means that one of the greatest players this sport has ever produced, a man beloved by millions of people around the world, was put at genuine physical risk during what was supposed to be a celebration of baseball's return. The stadium went silent in the way that stadiums only go silent when something truly terrible has happened. Players on both sides froze. The umpires moved immediately, gathering in the center of the field to begin what quickly became an emergency investigation right there on the diamond. And in the middle of all of it, one man could not contain himself any longer. Kyle Tucker exploded. There is no softer way to describe what happened. Tucker, who had been watching everything unfold from his position in the lineup, came forward with a fury that was immediate, raw, and completely justified. Those who were present described Tucker's reaction as one of the most passionate and protective displays of teammate loyalty they had witnessed on a baseball field. He was not performing for the crowd. He was not playing to the cameras. He was genuinely, deeply, furiously angry because the person being targeted was not just his teammate. Ohtani was the man Tucker had chosen to come to Los Angeles to play alongside. The man whose presence had convinced Tucker that this Dodgers team was something special. And watching Ohtani stand there with a dented helmet, calm and composed even in that frightening moment, while the people responsible showed not an ounce of remorse, was more than Tucker could absorb in silence. When the umpires conducted their emergency investigation and gathered statements from players on both sides, it was Tucker who stepped forward and revealed the truth. He told the umpires directly, clearly, without hesitation, what he had seen, what he had heard coming from the Arizona side throughout the game, and why he believed with complete certainty that what had happened to Ohtani was not accidental. Tucker revealed that the behavior had been building, that comments had been made, that there was an edge to the way certain Arizona players had been conducting themselves that went far beyond normal competitive intensity. That what happened to Ohtani's helmet was the visible result of something that had been building in that opposing dugout all evening long. Tucker's revelation changed the nature of the umpire's investigation completely. What had begun as a review of two isolated incidents was now something much larger, much more serious, and much more troubling. The umpires, after completing their investigation, issued ejections. The decisions were swift and firm, and they were met with a roar from the Dodger Stadium crowd that carried the full weight of everything that had just been witnessed. Manager Dave Roberts, who had watched the entire sequence of events with a jaw set in barely contained fury, addressed the umpires with the kind of controlled intensity that made clear he would not rest until every appropriate consequence had been applied. Roberts made it known that the Dodgers organization considers what happened to Ohtani completely unacceptable, dangerous, and worthy of the strongest possible response from Major League Baseball's front office. He said the safety of his players is non-negotiable. He said that Shohei Ohtani is not just a Dodger, he is a human being, and human beings deserve to compete in a safe environment regardless of the situation, the stakes, or the rivalry. The game itself continued, and the Dodgers completed their dominant 8-2 victory. Taylor Clark, the Diamondbacks reliever who had hit Ohtani with a pitch in the 7th inning, an incident that added yet another layer to an already deeply troubling evening, gave up a double to Tucker, a single to Mookie Betts, and a 2-run home run to Will Smith as the Dodgers put the game completely out of reach. But the scoreboard had become almost secondary by that point. What mattered was what had happened to Ohtani, what had been done to him, and what would happen next. After the game, the Dodgers clubhouse was quieter than it should have been following an 8-2 opening day victory. There was no celebration. There was no music. There was a heaviness in the air that winning by 6 runs could not lift. Several players spoke to the media, but their words were measured, careful, still processing. Tucker was among them, still clearly emotional, still carrying the anger he had shown on the field, but channeling it now into something more deliberate. He said he would always protect his teammates. He said that what he revealed to the umpires needed to be said, because silence in the face of that kind of behavior is its own form of failure. He said that the Dodgers are a family, and that what you do to one of them, you do to all of them. And then there was Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, who had been hit by a pitch, whose helmet had been dented, who had been targeted in ways that no player should ever be targeted, said almost nothing. He answered a brief question or two with the kind of quiet dignity that has always defined him. He did not rage. He did not demand revenge. He did not say anything dramatic or memorable or designed for headlines. He simply gathered his things, walked through the clubhouse, and went home. In silence. Alone. The greatest baseball player on the planet on his team's opening day, after being subjected to something that never should have happened, simply went home in silence. And somehow that silence spoke louder than anything Tucker said, louder than anything Roberts said, louder than the umpire's ejections or the crowd's roar or the dent in the helmet sitting somewhere in the Dodgers training room. Because Ohtani's silence was not weakness. It was the silence of a man who understood exactly what had happened, exactly what it meant, and exactly what the response would be, not through words, not through confrontation, but through showing up the very next day and doing what he always does. Being Shohei Ohtani. Major League Baseball has confirmed it is reviewing the full sequence of events from this game. Significant disciplinary action is expected within the coming days. The Diamondbacks organization has not yet issued a full public response beyond expressing regret. And the baseball world watches and waits for what comes next in a rivalry that has suddenly taken on a dimension that nobody anticipated. What is certain is this. The 2026 MLB season has begun with a moment that will not be forgotten. The Dodgers are chasing 3 straight championships. Shohei Ohtani is the beating heart of that chase. And anyone who believes that targeting him in any way for any reason will slow this team down does not understand what this team is made of. Thank you so much for watching. We want to know your thoughts in the comments. Was Tucker right to reveal the truth to the umpires? Should MLB come down harder on the Diamondbacks? Drop your reaction below. And if you want every major baseball story the moment it breaks, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications right now. We will see you in the next one.